Welcome everyone to the live stream. It's Casual Friday. Glad to be here. Hopefully you're doing well. Glad that you could join us. Let's just see here. Jared, can you see me okay and hear me okay? Oh, I can't hear you, dude.
Yep, your
Oh,
audio is good.
awesome.
Audio and video both good.
Good. So last week we had a bit of a snag. We are trying to get Jared on so that he could actually say something here, and I could actually show his picture, but he's a little shy today, so I won't show his picture. But now we've got him in here, and so he can make help with the questions or anything that pops up. And by the way, if you have any questions as we're going through today's live stream, by all means, throw them in the comments. We'll answer them. They can be on anything. It doesn't matter. It can be on the topics we're going to cover today, or whatever you want to go and put out there. So who's all there? If you want to put in the comments who's out there, that'd be great. Let us know who's live with us. And by the way, if you've got any topics that you would like to have on these live streams, let us know. We've had some last week. It was great, and we've added a couple of them into our agenda for today, and hopefully some of this will help you. Some of this will make your life a little bit easier, hopefully. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Gary Robillard. I'm with CoreLogix, and we're going to be talking about some ACT hacks today. Yes, ACT hacks. And so probably for some of you, you've not, you probably don't know what ACT hacks are. Well, they can be anything that helps you make your life a little easier. You've had, we've had some people that if we can gain some productivity gains or make things faster, that's what it's all about. Okay, we got some people on here. Hey, Susan. Hey, Jason. Trisha, good to have you guys on today. Welcome. So any questions so far before we dive into some topics? And again, Susan, I got to thank, or not Susan, she's not on here yet, or at least I don't see her on here. Natalie gave us one of the topics we're going to deal with today, and I was inspired by her question to me on, hey, could you do something like this? And so we're going to show you some cool things. All right. Well, let's move over to my other screen here. All right. And as you can see, we're using Windows 11 on our demo. I still haven't moved over to Windows 11 on my main machine. I've got it built. I just got to move stuff over. So hopefully this weekend I'll be actually in this new environment, and it's actually not bad. It's actually pretty cool. All right. So let me move that out of the way. And let's clear that, snooze that alarm. Actually, we'll clear the alarm so it doesn't bug us. All right, so today what we're going to do is we're going to cover some, we're going to cover a few items. And again, if you have any questions, as we're going along, by all means ask them. Now, in this screen, what we're going to do is we're going to show. I've had people ask me, hey, how do you do multiple histories to one person? So I've had a conversation with a couple of people. Maybe they're at different organizations, and I want to put a history in at one time instead of putting a history in one and then copying it and pasting it into somebody else's. I just want to do it at the same time. So there's a couple of different ways to do this. I'm going to show you the quickest and easiest way to do this. Now, these people, they don't have to be on your, they don't have to be in your company. They don't have to be, they can be anybody. So you remember we're using this advisor layout here. And again, it could be any structure that your company has for your layout. And it could be any vertical market that you're in, manufacturing, it can be anything, doesn't matter. And so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of show you how you can add multiple histories. So you can do it a couple of different ways. Some people, what they'll do is they'll have an activity with multiple people. So they'll actually create an activity and they'll bring a couple people in, and then they will create the history from there, from the activity. I'm just going to show you a quick way of doing this. because the principle is all the same. The idea is that you look up the people that you want to have that common history in there. And so if you click on, I'm just going to go to the contact list screen for a second. So now that I'm in the contact list screen, I can grab a couple of people. They can be random people. I can sort and pull up different people in the venue here. But I'm just going to say I want to have let's say Mike Young, and I'm going to hold down the Control key. If you hold down the Shift key, this is a little tool tip. If you hold down the Shift key, that'll go from, oops, I held down the Control key. Hold down the Shift key and then go to where you want to grab it, hold down the Shift key. It'll highlight everything from the first point to the second point. If you want to use and just randomly pick, use the Control key. So then you can click on Daryl here. I want to pick Larry. I want to pick, hang on here, Jennifer, and I just pick a couple of people, and those are the people that I want to have the history with. So once you've done this and you've grabbed them, click on Lookup Selected. And this isn't the only way you can look up people. You can do it lots of different other ways, and we'll probably do a video on just doing lookups, just the whole thing on lookups, because there's so many different things you can do. But we grab these people here. We've got 4 of them here. I'm going to highlight them all. And then what I'm going to do is just click on History. Now, you know, what is history? History is creating something that has happened. And so when you're creating a history, it's not like clearing an activity. An activity, when you clear an activity, it actually creates a history. In this case, we're going straight to the history. So this is like an ad hoc thing. And so you can just click on History. It's going to bring up the history window. And again, my system runs a little slow because I've got tons of applications open to be able to do this live stream, so it chugs a little bit because it's under a little bit of power. So you can see in here, I can choose the activity type. So this will, let's just say this was a meeting held, and it automatically puts everybody into the contact screen because I highlighted them here. Now you can't do this if you're on the company record or the household record and you highlight them and try to do this, it won't work. We have to be on the contact table to do this. And so you can see that. You know, it was February the 4th at whatever time. It was an hour long. You can put your blah, blah, blahs in. Blah, blah, blah. And then press OK. So that will create a history under there. And then if I go to Daryl's record, and then I'll just scroll through, you'll see here under the history, there's my blah, blah, blah. And if I go to the next person, oops, did the wrong way. There we go. You can see that person's got blah, blah, blah in there. So does that one. And so you can see that really quickly, I can add histories to all of these quite simply. And so you can find out however way you want to look those people up. But the idea is you look them up, highlight them, press the history button, and away you go. You can create a multiple histories for multiple people at the same time. It just makes it a heck of a lot easier. Now, with that, let's go back to our contact list here. Now, I've only got one here with an email address, so we're going to go and view all contacts on a little hyperlink on the left-hand side here. And I'm going to sort by email, and I'm just going to grab a bunch of people with emails. So we're going to grab, let's just grab a few people here. And we're going to right, or actually we're not going to right mouse click, we're going to go look up selected. You can do right mouse click, but it's just easier to click the button. And so now these people, so just like we did the history, come on, there we go. So just like we did the history, and just before I preface this, and I got to launch Outlook while we're talking here. Before I preface this is not something that I recommend on a normal basis. This would be an ad hoc thing that you would do once in a while, because I'm a real proponent of when you send an email out to somebody that you make it personal. It's got their name in it. And so what I want to show you here is that you can send an email out to a bunch of people really quick right from here if you need to. Again, I would recommend either using mail merge to accomplish this, where you actually have a template that has their first name in it, or using Act Marketing Automation. I'm sure that most of you have that now, either the free version or you've got a paid subscription for the higher level. And what I would recommend is that you use those first before you use this. But there are cases where you have to get a quick note out to somebody, and this is another way of doing it. And so it's a two-stepper. Once you highlight this, click on email. It's going to merge them into an email just like it did for the history. But it's going to put it all under the to-do record. So what you need to do is click in this field and go Control A. Control A highlights that whole line, and then Control X cuts it out. Now we don't want to put it in CCC, we want to put it in BCC. So we're going to go over to options here, and we're going to add the BCC field. There we are. And then we're going to click on there, and then we're going to go Control V. So the first one was Control A to highlight everything, then Control X to cut everything out, not copy it, but cut it out, and then Control V to paste it in here, and then you can put your subject line in and your message and press send, and out it goes, and it will create a history under each of those records that an email went out. Again, you're not going to be able to say hi Jim or John or whoever. You're going to say hey everyone, and then put in your little note. So that's another quick way of doing a group of people all at one time by just highlighting them all and then sending an email. Just remember, you want to make sure you've got the BCC. You don't want to CC them unless you want everybody to know what their email addresses are. In some cases, that may be the case. Like if you've got a Golf Buddies group and you want to send it out to them like this, that's fine. But if you want to keep it confidential, make sure you move it from the to over to the BCC. Okay? Hopefully that helps. Any questions on that so far? Now you can also, let's test something, because I've not actually done this. I've never had a, you can do a call, meeting, or to-do as well. So if you're gonna have a meeting with all of these people, you can see it all automatically puts all of them in here, you see that? So anytime you want to create an activity for everyone, you can do that just by highlighting them, call, meeting, to do, or any other activity type that you have. And you can also do a note if you want, or you can also do a note, not just a history, but you can do a note. So if I did a note, you can see it puts it all in the contacts up there as well. So being able to pull people and do a lookup of people, certain people that you want, you can create a history, you can create an email, you can create a note, or any kind of activity type, and it'll put them all in there. So hopefully this makes it a little bit easier on some of the stuff that you're doing where you're trying to do multiple contacts and create different connections to them. All right, moving along. Okay, so the next one here, this was one that was requested, or actually was brought to my attention, and I'm aware of this, and we use it all the time. It's just that they became aware of it, which is cool, and wanted to start using it. So in Act, there's a tab here that probably most of you don't use. Now, in this advisor layout, we've modified this particular one, but it's going to be exactly the same for everyone else out there on the part that I'm going to show you. So when I go to relationships, you can actually create a relationship with each individual person in here. So for an example, if I go to Todd Miller, he's my go-to guy. So if I go to Todd Miller here, you'll see under the relationships, he's linked to his accountant, lawyer, I can't remember what ASP is, and then mortgage broker. So he's attached to all of these. So anytime you want to link an individual with another individual or multiple individuals, you can actually do that by just clicking on the relate contact. It'll create a new screen, and then go find the person you want. So you can actually go in and link this person to a relative, to a family member, to a friend, you know, maybe a center of influence. Maybe it's a referral. Somebody referred you and you want to link that person back to see how many referrals they have. So let's just go in here. So you can go and find the individual. You can select the person in here. You can just type the person's name in here by last name. Let's choose Smith, Betty Smith here. John and Betty Smith, but we'll choose Betty. And then Todd is, let's just say Todd is the consultant. All right. And Betty is the client. And then you can put a little blurb in there, dictate what you want. You know, I keep forgetting to bring my mouse, my mic in closer. I apologize for that. I'm sure you could hear me, but maybe not as well as you can hear me now. So in here, you can see as I'm dictating, this thing is putting stuff in. Test 1, 2, 3. I was pressing that and I'm not sure where the little mic, I've got a little keyboard mic thing on my keyboard. Anyways, you can type out what you want in there, press OK. And you can see here now under the relationship, you'll see here client Betty Smith. And if you click on her record, it will actually show whatever content that you wanted in there. So that's one way you can do. And again, think outside the box. How would you connect them? The nice thing is they are. I clicked the wrong button here. Actually, I clicked on Daryl Young, and you can see it brought me to his record, and then it shows Todd as part of that. So if I go back to Todd. And maybe I want to go to his accountant, Jackson Bigman. And as I'm on Jackson's, you can see, well, Jackson also is linked to Nancy Smith and Terry Smith, as well as Todd Miller. And you can see these links back and forth. Now, the caveat is, when you're going to link somebody, they actually have to have a record in ACT in order for you to link to them. So if you're going to add anybody that you want to link to, then you add the contact in there, link them to it. And so this could be used in a lot of different ways that I don't think a lot of people realize, that you can connect people to other people, either within the same organization or outside the organization or whatever it is you want, and then be able to have quick links to them. And so this is a really powerful thing. Those who are using the advisors add-on is great for, you know, all those centers of influence, that sort of stuff. But for other businesses, I mean, I use this for related contacts to that individual. Could be their IT person, could be all sorts of different things. So it just makes it a lot easier. So hopefully that one helps you as well. Creating a duplicate. So creating a duplicate contact. Now this is really cool. Let's just say, and this is a kind of a productivity hack where a lot of people, they'll key in a contact from scratch. And first of all, when you're using any CRM system, doesn't matter what it is, you want to make sure that you go in and you check to see if the person's in there before you enter them into the database. So if I go into my, and I'm going to cover some of this when I go and do searches to be able to kind of do this. So I'm just going to do it on a light way right now, and then we'll show you later on. But let's just say I wanted to find, let's just find somebody in here, Fred Brown here. So let's just see if we would want to find Ted James. So we type in Ted James and nobody pops up. Okay, so Ted James isn't in there, but what about the company, ABC? So I'm going to go and look at ABC. So I'm going to, this would be the company household record, so it facilitates both. So I'm going to right mouse click over this right here, and I'm just going to type in ABC. And there is a person from ABC, it's Fred Brown, and actually Tanya Lang. So I'm just going to go to one of their records here, and they would have, they've got their address in here and all that sort of stuff. So instead of retyping everything in, why don't I just do a duplicate? Just make it a lot easier. And that way I get the company name properly. I get everything in here the way it ought to be. And so in order to create a duplicate record where you can just enter in a new contact name and any personal information like their email address, the cell phone number, that sort of stuff. So all you would do is you've got two ways of access, actually a couple ways. I'm going to show you two. This one right here where you've got the two individuals, see that right there? It's got two people's heads. If you click on that, that will do a duplicate, and you have a choice, duplicate from primary fields and duplicate from all data. Now, typically you want to do duplicate from primary fields, and certain fields in the database can be flagged as primary. So when you do a duplicate, for an example, the address gets duplicated. So let's just do so that's one way. And then the other way is just anywhere other than over a field, right mouse click and go duplicate contact. And then same window pops up, press OK. And you can see here it's going to create a duplicate record. You'll see the street address is the same. And then we're just going to go, sales around, sure, whatever. No. And so in here, it creates it, but it actually jumps off that record. It jumps off that record. And that's a little glitch with Act, and just so you should be aware of that. It does create it, but it kind of does a jump, and it could be because, and it doesn't do it all the time. I think it did it because I pulled up that other, no, it didn't do it because of this thing that I popped up. My apologies. Live stream, right? Okay, so let's go back to Fred Brown. So again, you can do it from here, right mouse click, duplicate contact, duplicate. I'm just going to cancel that so it doesn't mess it up. And then I'm going to put in, that's what threw it off, was this thing I'm asking about File Manager. Ted James. Oops. Ted James. And so now when I go to the corporation, you can see here that Ted James is now part of that organization. You can also do a duplicate from just clicking on the new here, and then you can also go down to, oh, I'm sorry, wrong one. I'm on their record here, and I want to go, where are you? You can add another record to a contact record here. You should be able to do it under new. They've changed something. Oh my gosh. Okay, we'll do it from the drop-down menu. From the drop-down menu, you can go to household, and in this case, company household. And then down third from the bottom here, you can create a contact record from the company or household. And it's going to say, yeah, we want to do that. And then it's going to do the same thing, give you a blank record where you can key in the person's name. And I'll put in here, oops, Betty Guy. There we are. Yeah. All right, and so that actually shows you the same thing. So we've got Ted James and Betty Guy in there. All right, so I'm going to show you an easier way to do this. And I got to warn you, when you do a duplicate, it can jump off the record. I know it's happened to me. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. So just be aware of that. It's kind of one of those, and it has done this with ACT for quite a few years now, where when you do a duplicate record, it can jump off the record. I don't know what it is, and it's just every once in a while. So we built this so that wouldn't happen any longer. So if I'm on ABC Corporation and I want to, well, let's start off with a new company. Let's do this from scratch, and this will help you really kind of get a feel for this. Now, everybody who has the advisor has this little, what we call a contact bar at the top here. Now, for those of you who don't have this, for some of you that are like Jason, for an example, you may not have this on your version of ACT. Reach out to me. We do have this. It's not. Can't remember if Matt built this for the regular consumer as opposed to just in this template. I believe he has finished it off. And so reach out to me. I'll give you the skinny on all of this and how to get that. So any of you that are not using the advisor, you're actually, again, this is just a template, and that's why I use this one, because it's got all these goodies in here. This is something that you can get from us. So I'm going to jump away from ABC Corporation for just a second. We're going to create a brand new record. So we're going to go over here and go new. And I'm going to go, so the idea was to go and look and see if there's a company in there we could add somebody in doing a duplicate. But if they weren't in the database, if the contact wasn't there and the company wasn't there, you do it from scratch. So here's how this would work. So the contact we're going to put in here is Harris Heller, and he's with HQ Records. And this is a company, and that pops up because it's the advisor. And then you could put the address in. Let's just say business address, 456 Street, Calgary, Alberta, T2JH6Y7. All right, you get the idea. All right, so we've got him in here, but we've met with two people. We've met with Harris, and we met with his assistant. Let's call her Lori. We're going to add Lori to here. So up here, this bar changes. So now what we can do is create a company right from here. Normally what you do is you'd have to go up here to contacts, and you'd have to go down, where is it? Create company from record. It's probably grayed out. Contacts. Oh, this may not be in here because we've modified this one. Okay, so if you're not using the advisor in the normal one, you go to contacts and you would create a company from the contact. And I don't see that in here. That must have been removed for this purpose. Anyways, so what you would do, or is it there? Hang on. No, it's not there. So anyways, what you'd do is you'd create a company from here. And all it does is it doesn't move you off the record. It just tells you, hey, a company was successfully created. And then you can see that this has created a hyperlink for here so that you can just click on that and move from it. But the cool thing is now you can add a new contact in here. So if you're going to do a duplicate, you can do it right from here. If you want to have a look at the contacts in the company, you can do that from here. So let's add another person. Lori, let's see. Lori Argyle. Okay, title. Let's see. CFO. And then I could put her mobile phone in here. 403-555-3232, and email, let's say Lori at hq.ca. Making this all up. So press OK, and then that creates the record for Lori. It's going to jump around a little bit, but there she is. And the nice thing is, you remember we talked about being able to add relationships to people. If people are linked to the organization, you can still use this for people outside of your organization. But let's just say, or the organization that you're on. So I'm on HQ Records, and I want to see all the people there. I could click link people in through relationships, but I wouldn't do it that way. I would actually link these to people outside of that organization, like who that person's IT person is or whatever you want to do. But the key here is you can click on this little drop down, company contacts, and it will actually show you all the people. So if we put in Harris Heller's, let's just jump to Harris, and we add in his title, let's say he's the president. And then we move back to Lori, and then we pop up. You'll see that, let's see here. It's not showing Harris's yet, but it will once it refreshes. Let's just save that. There we go. Still not showing up Harris, but it'll show up Harris Heller's title, just like it would with Lori here. So that's another way of looking at the list. So for those who are with their advisors, so if I go to Todd Miller, and again, this can be with any organization, or in this case, any household record in this template. You can see here, in this case, this was customized so that it would actually show all the people in the family and their ages. And so this little tool here is just fantastic. And then a lot of people aren't using opportunities, so you can click on the opportunity to show you how to use opportunities. I've got a couple of other quick things. So that's the contact bar. I'm going to show you just a couple of more things, and I know we've kind of done 30 minutes, but if you don't mind, we'll go a little bit longer, and I'll show you a couple of other things. So this thing is accessible for anybody with Advisor and anybody who's not using Advisor, and we've got lots of people who are just using their database for custom stuff. That you can get this. Just let me know. And now the next thing I want to show you is, and I'm going to go into a deep dive into this later at some time, but right now I just want to show you one thing that people have asked me about, and I've shown this probably about 3 or 4 times this week. When you're in the opportunities, even if you're not using opportunities, that's another conversation. I'm going to do a live stream on using opportunities and using them properly. But there's a feature in here that a lot of people weren't aware of, and they added it around I can't remember if it was 2021 or 2022 version of ACT that they added this in here, but they refined it again and made some modifications to version 24 that I'm in. So if I click on the pipeline view, and sure, it's not going to show up because of the bandwidth here. Let me just close this down for a second. Sorry about that, folks. Any questions while I'm waiting for this pop up? Jared, anybody's reaching out there?
We don't have any questions so far, but some good information though on creating duplicates. I know, especially for myself, there's a lot of times where you got to add new contacts for a new person in accounting or new IT, and it makes it a lot easier to just duplicate that content and just fill in the email address and or phone number rather than having to, create a whole new record and link it. So that's a good tip.
Yeah, it can save you a lot of time, and one of the big challenges is saving time. And what I find too, we have companies that who maybe have never used the company part of their database. They've just had contacts, and now they want to create companies, and they say, hey, can we do this all at one time, or do we have to do them individually? And we have a utility that can do it all at one time. But the problem is, if you had, one person entered in ABC Corp, another person entered in with a different name, ABC Corporation, and then the other one did ABC, it's actually going to create 3 different records under the company, and you can't link them. It's just going to create 3 different company records with just individuals in there. So having a consistent, not only company name or whatever the company name is, but also having a consistent address and all that sort of stuff, and being able to modify that address from the company field and update all the contacts below. And that's another, Jared, maybe jot that down, that that'll be another topic, is to actually show you how to use companies properly and integrate those with contacts, so people can get a better handle on the functionality of the two relationships between companies and contacts. And in this case, in this advisor template, it would be households as well. All right, it's just loading up here. We're just waiting for new Macs to come out. I've tested some of the other ones, the new with the M1 chips, and they're great. They're fast, but there's a little bug in our virtual machines that doesn't allow us to put the software in properly. So we're just waiting for that to get fixed, and then we'll be in warp speed here. But this is I only have, this machine's, I think, 4 years old, so it's got only four CPUs. I need double that. I need 8. 8 CPUs would make me happy camper. I'm going to close this down. That might make this run a little bit easier. So everybody's silent out there. Everybody's quiet. Can you give me a thumbs up if you're learning stuff here? That helps. Everybody's silent. That's okay. All right, here we go. We're going to give this a shot one more time. And this happens when I have bandwidth problems. So we're going to go to opportunities again. And we're going to click on pipeline view. And there we are. She's loading. We got bandwidth. All right. So in opportunity view, a lot of people, you may not know this. It has two parts to it. One is the upper screen of this is called KPIs. And this shows based on whatever you're sitting on. You've got, for an example, you've got the date range, you've got the processes. And in this case, I've got a bunch of processes in this financial one, but you could have opportunities or sales opportunities. You could have service or operations, projects. I've got people using this. I got accountants using this for year ends. They've got one for year ends. They've got a process called year ends. And then they have all the stages for the year ends in here. So you can set this up any way you want. I've got this here for opportunities. But once you've got this in here, you can see exactly what you've got nailed down. You can see the count, the weighted total, forecast value. And the other thing you can do is now you can see it's in a split screen, but if you take the KPI off and then close this off, you've got what we call a Kanban. So as a salesperson or operations or whatever the process is looking at this, and this could be somebody, if it's financial advisor, you're looking at underwriting and you're moving things along. You can see here, okay, we identified this particular opportunity, and now we're moving it over to qualified. Okay, this one here is life insurance. We're going to move this one over here to decision, and then pending an application. So you can move these things over, and it adjusts where they're at every given time as you move them over. So one of the best practices is, as you start your day, if you're a salesperson or if you're an assistant or if you're whatever, typically there's a few things you're going to check. You're going to check your calendar. Hey, what have I got going on today? You're going to go and look at, the other thing you should be looking at is emails, but emails should be after. I know everybody kind of jumps into emails, but I'm going to make a recommendation that you don't click on your emails or your Outlook until after you've kind of pulled your compass out for the day and said, hey, what am I doing? And I would do this by doing a couple of things. I would check to see, what have I got going on today on my calendar? I would check and see what my opportunities are. And opportunities, and this can be relabeled, by the way. We have a little utility that can relabel this. It doesn't have to be opportunities. For accounting, that's relabeled to other things. And you can see with the advisor, we have this one changed to household/companies. So opportunities can be whatever you want. But when you click on that, you'll be able to actually see this, and then you'll be able to, what have I got going on in my area here. And then if I want to actually go to one like Arnold here, I can just double click on it. It takes a second. There we go. And it'll take me right to this one that's connected to Arnold. I can actually, from there, I can click on his hyperlink and go to his record. I can make a phone call. I can come back and adjust. So this is kind of just food for thought. Want to make sure that you're aware of that. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you, and I'll go into deep dives in that at another time, but this last thing is kind of important. I've seen people that go into here, and let me go to Todd Miller's record again. And I've seen this, and I'm going to give you a big caution on this one. They do this either in notes, or they do this in history, or they do it in both. And what they do is they'll create a note or a history. And so right here, I'm gonna click on both of these to show them, but I'm actually going to use this for notes. So I'm going to click on history. There we are. So in history here, you can see this one where it says attachments. What I find people doing is they attach documents to a history, or they will actually attach documents to a note. Now, when you attach a document here, you can attach a file. If you attach a file, it takes it out of its original place and puts it as part of the ACT database. Where it puts it, let me show you where it puts it, because it's really important that you understand what's going on in the background here, because it may help you rethink what you're doing with your documents, or where you're storing your documents. So if I go to this PC, I'm going to go to the C drive. I'm going to go to ACT, and I have this database sitting right here. And so where your database files are, here's my database files. There's three of them, or two of them. The ADF and the ALF file, and then the PAD file is just an instruction file. But this is what we call a supplementary folder file. And in here, you see these attachments. Any email that is sent or received goes in there. Any document that you do how I was just showing you goes in there. And we've got some of our clients that have huge backups of their database because of this attachment folder can get enormously large, like 40, 60 gigabytes. So you want to be careful as you're thinking about where things are being attached. So in here, if you attach it, it takes a copy. So if you go back to the original, adjust it, this one here doesn't update. That's problem number one. Problem number two, if you do a shortcut, if something changes and you lose that link, then that shortcut's not applicable any longer. So here's what I would do. In order, there's nothing wrong with attaching histories. And if you've got a direct link, a shortcut link to where those documents are, that's the better way of doing it. But let me just show you a faster way of doing it. For those of you who are using the full advisor, you have a feature in here called File Manager, which is a document management thing. And I'm going to go into more detail with this at another time. But this document management process points to where your documents are at, whether they're in the server or in the cloud, doesn't matter where they're at, and they are contained or shown up inside of ACT. And the nice thing about this is any adjustments I make here are adjusted either on the server or in the cloud or wherever the documents are held. And so they're not duplicated. They're not duplicated by taking a document here and then putting it in as an attachment into ACT. So if I go into, and I'm going to use notes as an example here, because I had somebody ask me about this the other day. They said, oh, I've got all of these documents in here and it takes me a few minutes to find around. Even though I'm in the person's folder, it may take me a few minutes. And I said, well, okay, well, why don't you do it this way? Go to the history, create a history, and this way it doesn't get lost in the notes, sorry. But in the history, it can get lost. You can have a lot of different things in here. But I'm just going to create a note, and let's just call this particular note. I'm just going to go annual review 2021. And I just put a title in there. And then what I do is I go to attachment, and I'm not going to use file. I'm never going to use file. I'm going to use shortcut, and it's going to pull this window up. And then all I have to do is click on File Manager. There's Todd and Christine Miller. And let's just go to investment. Yeah, let's just pick let's just pick this test one here, and we'll open that. And you'll see it's got the link to it. Press OK. And so now, when I go into my note here, all I have to do if I want to review that document, you'll see the little hyperlink right here. Just click on it once, just once, and it's going to bring up that document. So that can make your life a lot faster to accomplish it and easier to access that document and pull it back up. If you need to create a history other than emails going out, and actually we may have a solution for that in the next few months to have your email histories actually where your file manager location is. And for those of you who don't have file manager, you're either on the Advisor Lite or you're in another vertical market. This is purchased. We sell this product all over the world, literally all over the world. Just about every country you can think of, we've got people have purchased this product. So think about that, and I'll go and do a deep dive, and you can maybe look at that as an option in the future. But I just wanted to show you, be careful when you attach documents to notes or histories, And if you have File Manager, or if you've got them on your server, use the shared link. I was just using File Manager because it's a really quick, easy way, and everything's all organized nicely. But you can just go and link, make sure you use the shortcut to wherever that document is located, either on the server or in the cloud. So hopefully that helps. I think I've got a few more things, but we've gone through enough. Jared, any questions out there? No.
We don't get any questions so far.
All right.
But that's
okay.
Good tips to know, though, about linking it to a shortcut rather than just attaching it to cut down on the database size there. There is one question that we got from Scott here. Is the history tab on the top of the page the same as the history tab beside activities? Question mark.
All right. So read that one more time, Jared. I'm just adjusting this on the screen here.
So this question comes from Scott. Is the history tab on the top of the page the same as the history tab besides activities?
So if you're referring to this history button at the top here, Scott, this is just a button to launch a history. The history tab right here underneath that person's record allows you also to launch it, but also allows you to view it. You can filter it out based on dates. You can do search based on keywords. And you can also select users. You may want to select a specific user that actually left a history in there. And then there's a history tab on the left-hand side called the history list, which we'll get into at another time. But creating histories, this just creates a history, an ad hoc history. And histories are also created when you clear an activity, which we'll get into when we actually go through how to create activities in a future one as well. Hope that answered your question, Scott.
So we got another question. This one is from Jason. He has a good question. So if you don't have File Manager, which many of our customers don't have File Manager,
yep.
Is it your best bet? Or he says, if we don't have File Manager, is using the file link in a history our best bet? So to have a shortcut rather than attaching that.
Yes, and the reason for that, Jason, is that if you take a copy of it and you modify the one that's now attached, it doesn't update the original. So by using a link, someone else can go and adjust the original from their location, whether it's inside or outside of ACT, and you can adjust the one either inside or outside of ACT, and it still updates the original document. So it's really important not to copy the file over unless you are going to get rid of the original document, which I wouldn't suspect is a smart thing to do anyway. And if you did copy the document, it's going to put it in that attachment folder that I showed you, which is just one great big folder with every document and email that whatever's been attached the way we've prescribed here in there. And so it's kind of a bit of a dog's breakfast if you really look at somebody who's got lots of files in there. So yeah, I would do a link. Long story short, yeah, just do the link. And again, just so you're aware of how to do that, we'll just create another one here. And when you're doing the attach, use the shortcut. I use the term link, but it's the shortcut versus the file.
Yeah, it's good to know too that if you make the modifications, that it doesn't update it on both. If you don't have that shortcut, that's also a good thing to know if that's a file that is being updated, on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Or will be updated. So it's a good thing to know.
Yeah, and that happens a lot. We find people, and it's usually after the fact. They've been using it a couple of years where they've been attaching files, and they still have the original sitting on the server, and people have modified that, and now they're trying to recap and find out, okay, what was what, and everything is all messed up. And it's at that point that they realize, and then they find us and they say, hey, can you help us with this? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. So if you're the type of person that did attach documents, all is not lost. And the reason I say that is we have a little utility. You would have to get File Manager, unfortunately, but there's a little utility that we built into File Manager specifically for this. And this is to actually take your documents and migrate your documents from those attached folders and move them out into it's space where you have all of your documents, like I said, on the server or the cloud, and actually remove them out of that attachments folder and reduce the size of your attachments folder. So we put that in there because we had people who really needed to slim down their attachment folder from their emails. And again, like I'd mentioned, we're working on an app that actually any emails out and in that are attaching you can actually go into File Manager, and they would have an email attached folder under that person's record as opposed to into this big huge file. And that way it's even going to reduce the size of that backup even further because they're not all going to be in the attachments folder. And we'll let you know when that comes out, and we'll actually give you a little demo of how that works. All right, I think thanks, Jared, for scooping that out. I'm going to move to the next screen here and wrap up. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm sorry it took you a little bit longer than normal. I'll try to do it 30 minutes, but it went a little bit longer today. Still, I'm trying to find out content that, trying to adjust the content as we're going through and make it palatable. And usually 30 minutes is pretty good, but today I just was excited. I had some stuff to show you. Anyways, hopefully this helps. Hopefully you have an awesome weekend. We'll talk to you next Friday. We do have a webinar coming up in February. I think it's February 15th, if I remember correctly, just after the Valentine's Day, right? Coming up. Anyways, you guys have yourself a great weekend, and we'll catch you on the next one.